What the fuck? Man, what's the time? What is it already day? But why are you leaking? Shit, I'm filled with beer. Oh my god. I had one too many. Still some on this? Oh. So yeah, Portugal played with Spain yesterday. Yeah, I think everyone expects me to talk about that. Even the shirt I have and oh, the flag is hanging there. Well, to be fair, I probably should be talking about it because I'm Portuguese and I am in Spain right now and I'm wearing this Spain jersey. And as you see, there's a Spanish flag hanging there. I know it ended up there, but there are empty beer cans around here everywhere. I think I had too many, but clearly some decisions were made. As I see, everyone seems to be very up and rising and shining, but I actually woke up now and I'm started looking at everything around me, and it looks very like cyber news, yeah. And I'm realizing something, that the football match might have been over yesterday, but Portugal and Spain, they have been competing for a very long time, longer than 90 minutes, yeah, longer than a century. They've been going on and about for centuries. They fought over kingdoms, yeah, for borders and trade routes and colonies even. I saw some people in the shop before, and influence and pretty much everything, yeah. So they built castles and fortresses and the watchtowers. So massive walls surrounding kingdoms, not because, they like building this, yeah, but because obviously they were protecting something, yeah. They were protecting what mattered, yeah, their kingdom. And back then, it was the territory, definitely. And today, it's information, yeah, since we're talking about cyber, yeah. And actually, I think that's one of the reasons, yeah. I enjoy studying cybersecurity, I have to say. Because even though the technology, changes and human behavior doesn't, and the people are still the same, yeah, people still want access to things that don't belong to them, yeah. This is the main thing. And people still want power, they still want money, they still want influence. This has not changed from back then, yeah. So the methods change, but the motivation doesn't, yeah. I got one here. I'm gonna try drink this one. Oh, it's over, I think. Yeah, I ran out of it. So yeah, Spain was dealing with a kind of attack recently, as I saw on the news. A ransomware is one of the news for today, against a company called Indra, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if you've never heard of Indra, basically, well, don't worry, I don't think most people have, actually, because it doesn't really matter. Nobody gives a fuck about Spain. Neither Portugal, actually. But it's not a consumer company. You don't buy, an Indra phone or an Indra laptop, yeah. Or for that matter, subscribe to an Indra TV, yeah. It's just one of those companies, yeah, that quietly exists in the background and nobody takes notice of. Most people don't notice it, yeah. And until something happens, and that's exactly why I thought, yeah, that this story was very important, given all the Spain theme and this dual and Iberian clash, yeah. So I saw the headline and I realized, I didn't actually know that much about Indra either, yeah. So like everyone else, yeah, I heard of the name and I knew they were like involved in some defense, yeah, but I didn't know much really about it, yeah. And I really didn't appreciate how much modern infrastructure they touch, yeah, as I saw from their website. So the more I read, the more interesting it became, yeah, this Indra. So Indra develops systems for air traffic management, yeah. So transportation, military technology, yeah, radar, public administration as well, on and on and on and on. So the cybersecurity matters in this case, yeah. So basically, it's one of those companies that's connected with everything, yeah, to a lot of different sectors in Spain, yeah, without being particularly visible to the general public, yes. And that makes it really an interesting ransomware victim, yeah, from the story. Because when a company like this gets attacked, their first reaction is usually, oh no, por favor, los vuelos fueron afectados, los trenes también, y la infraestructura crítica también fue comprometida. Those are fair questions, yeah, I gotta say, yeah. But I actually think there's more to it, yeah. There's a more interesting question to be made. Why Indra, actually? Because one thing I've noticed over the couple of years or the months I've been in Spain is that people often spend far more time talking about the malware, about things that don't matter too, than the victim. I personally think I'm more usually interested in the victim, yeah. Usually when I look at the stories. So why this company? Why now? What makes it attractive? You know, because attackers don't just wake up in the middle of the morning, because those guys are still sleeping here, and put a dart on a map, yeah, like a bullseye, and randomly choose a company, or, you know, just try to make the 180. Sometimes it's just because of the money, because of the opportunity that appears, because it's strategic, yeah, there's a strategic importance, or simply just because for the lulz, or because someone left the door open. So whatever it may be, this reason, the victim tells us a lot, yeah, in this case. So before we even talk about the ransomware, yeah, I need to have a sip, so I think I still have some drink here. Yeah. Now, if this was 500 years ago, yeah, one of Spain's most valuable assets might have been their fortress, yeah. There's like a couple around here that are abandoned, yeah. Or some castles, yeah, protecting a trade route. But today, you know, a bigger story. Now, we need to separate facts from speculation, because a lot of people speculate, apparently. Because this is something that's becoming increasingly difficult on social media, actually. But what I mean is, as soon as an headline appears, people start filling in the blanks, yeah. It must be espionage, you know, it must be a nation state. They probably, you know, stole the military equipment. Well, they did that in Portugal. Maybe, maybe not. Right now, we still don't know what happened. Maybe now, you know, we don't really know, yeah. And it's perfectly okay to say that, actually. We don't know, yeah. In cybersecurity, oftentimes, we don't know, yeah. That's actually a strength, not knowing. Because we always try pretending, you know, that we know everything and we have all the information, yeah. But sometimes we don't have it and we need to dig deeper, yeah. So Indra actually confirmed that one of its subsidiaries, yeah, suffered a ransomware attack, as it was on the news, on the article. I'll link it there. Also, there's like a technical profiling of a website on the victim itself. So it hits non-critical environment per them, yeah. And that services, you know, continued operating normally, etc. So that's the official information that was given, yeah. Everything beyond that, well, at least for now, yeah, is speculation, yeah. Now, something I found interesting was that some people, or my dog, dismiss the story because it happened to a subsidiary, yeah, of this company. Almost as if that somehow it makes it less, I don't know, important. Kaimak! So yeah, to a castle isn't the main gate, yeah. It's the small side entrance, yeah, that nobody thinks about, yeah. Or you can just do a Trojan horse too. I had to say that, sorry. So I'm not saying that's what happened, yeah, here. Again, we don't really know, yeah. And sometimes in cybersecurity, that's okay. But history and cybersecurity both teach us the same lesson over and over and over. The strongest wall in the world doesn't really matter very much, actually, if someone quietly opens a smaller door or a smaller gate from the inside. Yeah. And that brings us to the next question. Yeah. So who exactly carried out the attack? Yeah. So the group that was claiming this responsibility was, or calls himself, the gentleman, like those gentlemen that just wake up because of my dog. I apologize. Lo siento. There isn't much that gentleman, yeah. There's not much generally about what they did, yeah, what they operated, yeah. But yeah, they usually sleep until late. Yeah, here they also don't know how to work. They sleep in the middle of the day. I don't know. But who is this gentleman? Yeah. So let's be honest, though. The first time I heard about this name, or I read it on the news, yeah, it sounded more like a pub here in the middle of fucking nowhere, yeah, where I am, than a ransomware group. But don't let that name fool you, okay? They're part of a new generation of ransomware, as I understood, yeah, ransomware groups that have figured something out, yeah, that encrypting files isn't enough, yeah, anymore. As we also talked in the last few weeks, yeah. So if you think back like 15 years ago, someone clicked on the wrong attachment, yeah. Oh my God, this dog is gonna eat them. You know, a ransom note appeared, yeah, and they encrypted the files and game over, yeah. That was the ransomware. But today, obviously today, that's only part of the chapter, yeah, even the last chapter, yeah. So the interesting part happens long before that, actually, long before anyone sees a ransom, yeah. Hola. So ransomware groups don't break in and immediately start encrypting files, yeah. Obviously. That would actually be a terrible strategy, I gotta say, if we look at the back in the medieval times. They get in quietly, they stay quiet, yeah, and sometimes for days and sometimes for weeks. So if you imagine someone sneaking into a medieval castle, as I was saying, you know, they don't immediately start a fight in the courtyard, yeah. They're listening at the jester, yeah, and listening at the preacher, yeah. So where are the guards? Which gates stay open, yeah? Where's the armory, yeah? Where's the treasury? Who's carrying the keys to the castle, the keys to the kingdom, as they say? Cyber criminals do exactly the same thing, actually. So once they're inside a network or the castle in this analogy, yeah, they start exploring, yeah. They want to understand. I am being noticed here because I'm talking a bit loud. The goal isn't to make noise, although I am making a lot of noise right now. The goal is to learn, because the more they know, of course, the more pressure they can apply. Of course, the more pressure they can apply later. Yeah, so that's why ransomware you know, has evolved into something more. Yeah, into something much bigger than just, well, ransomware. Yeah, so it's become extortion, actually, data theft, psychological pressure, reputation management, and sometimes even public relations, yeah, as we saw in some news a couple of weeks ago. That is definitely something I think people outside cybersecurity, like those guys over there, those hippies, don't realize. These groups aren't just writing, malware anymore, yeah. And we also saw the sophistication of it. They're running businesses, yeah. They're running illegal businesses in this case. But businesses, all the same, yeah. They are all the same. They have websites, they have negotiation portals, they have affiliates, they have developers, infrastructure, so, as we spoke last week and as we spoke in previous weeks, yeah, they have technical support. Yeah, they hire people, which is still one of the weirdest things I gotta say in cybersecurity, yeah. Kaimak! Aqui! Sorry, I had to do that. Terminou. Now, one question I keep asking myself, if I were an attacker, why would I choose a company like this? Cállate! I am trying to do a show, I think. So large companies generally have larger cyber insurance, yeah? We know this, yeah? So larger revenues, yeah, and potentially larger ransom payments. Sorry for the aggressive and the passive aggressiveness, it's just I had too many, as you see. So the whole story, yeah, so companies like Indra are interesting, yeah, because of where they, where they sit in the industry, yeah. They don't just protect themselves. They are connected, to government, as I was saying, yeah. They are connected to critical infrastructure, yes, and to transport, to defense, to public administration, yeah, suppliers, the list goes on and on and on. Yeah. It's almost like attacking a busy crossroads, yeah, instead of a quiet street. It's not very medieval, but everything passes through there, yeah. And now I gotta be very careful here, because that doesn't really mean this was, espionage, yeah, or there's no public evidence of that. We're talking about this some news and some comments. It's really important not to mix possibility with probability, yeah. Just because something is possible doesn't mean that's what actually happened, yeah. At the moment, the simplest explanation, is still that this was ransomware operation. And it is obvious from the profile of the victim and the technical article I put. So the evidence is suggesting otherwise, yeah. And that's probably where the discussion should stay, in my opinion. But it does highlight something interesting, I have to say. Not all companies are equal from a cybersecurity point of view, yeah, a cybersecurity perspective. So if a local bakery, like I was in just now to get the beer to pretend I was drinking yesterday, gets hit with a ransomware, it's terrible for the owner, yeah, but it probably isn't an international news, yeah. So when a company that's involved in defense, as I was saying, or in transport or with government technology, yeah, if it gets hit, then people start paying attention, obviously, because the consequences could be far huge, yeah. They can extend far beyond the company itself, yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to cover this news, actually. No, well, not the only reason. It's because it was in Spain, actually. It's because I'm here and because Spain played with Portugal yesterday. But yeah, basically, the victim actually tells us something about the... Is that guy really pissing there? Okay. About the organization's attackers, yeah. They are interested in, this kind of targets more and more and more. It's getting more strategic, yeah. And they're targeting more connected organizations, yeah, and even the underlying infrastructure that's shared between all of them, as we saw last week with the operation that Microsoft was conducting against these malware groups. Now, I think that's where cybersecurity is heading, definitely. So we're moving away from, protecting individual computers, yeah, individual assets, yeah, towards protecting the whole infrastructure in a whole, yeah, in one. So one compromised supplier can affect dozens of organizations, yeah, as I was talking about that, yeah. So one stolen even administration account, for example, can affect thousands of users, yeah. Hey, heck, even one vulnerable cloud service can affect companies all over the world, yeah. So everything definitely is connected, as I saw, throughout my career, and as I keep seeing, yeah. So it means that security is connected too, yeah. And another thing that I found interesting as well is, from this Indra story, is how quickly people started asking, did they pay? Did they pay, yeah? And personally, that's never really my first question. Although for some it is, well, those guys there, the question is, did I have too many? The pain isn't the real story. The understanding how the attackers got there is. Well, at least maybe because I'm the cybersecurity professional. Were credentials stolen? Was it phishing? A vulnerable VPN or whatever it is, yeah? So a third-party supplier, etc., etc., etc. Again, we don't know. We don't know. And, every major ransomware incident usually starts with something that is surprisingly ordinary. Yeah. So a password, an email, yeah, a forgotten server, yeah, a system that wasn't patched. That's usually the thing. So people often imagine this kind of cyber attacks. Can I take this off? I gotta take this silly hat off and put this one on. No, many successful attacks, they begin actually with very simple mistakes, yeah. That's both the frustrating part and the reassuring part, if I can say it that way, because it means obviously that good security fundamentals are still mattering, yeah. As I said, fundamentals, yeah. So strong passwords, MFA, network segmentation. I was not counting on this. Backups, monitoring, user awareness, etc., etc., etc. So none of those things are particularly exciting. They can be very boring, yeah. But they're still the best defenses. They are the fundamentals, after all, yeah. So actually brings me back to this fortress analogy. Oh, they're leaving. History isn't full of castles that fell because the walls suddenly started disappearing, yeah. Or most castles fell because somebody found a weakness, yeah. So a gate was left open, as I was saying, or there was a forgotten tunnel, yeah, as we saw in the Game of Thrones episode, yeah. So cybersecurity isn't really that different, actually, yeah. So attackers, they don't usually break the strongest wall. Information systems, yeah, so the government infrastructure, digital infrastructure. So you think of Spain as a castle, Incida is helping the people living inside the walls, or maybe in the small villages, yeah, around, and CCN CERT is making sure the king's treasury is kept safe, yeah, the armory is kept safe, and the command center too, when they will go to the Aljubarrota battle, that it is properly defended. They produce technical guidance, the security baselines and the threat intelligence and even incident reports. So a lot of the work they do actually never becomes very much news, yeah, because it's more focused and geared towards cybersecurity professionals, yeah. Then you have the Joint Cyber Command. I forget now the name in Spanish. So this is like a military side of it, yeah. So they're basically responsible for defending like militarily all the military networks or militarily the country and supporting Spain's armed forces, yeah, in the cyberspace world, of course. So it's definitely a different mission again, as I was saying, from every single one of them. So they are protecting what's important for the national security, yeah. So, intelligence services and, private cybersecurity companies, you can also have that, and internal security teams and incident response consultants, yeah. They all are part of this too, because Spain has also some of these as well. And when you join all of this together, you realize when a cybersecurity incident happens, yeah, a serious one, there is just one defender. In Spain, there's dozens of them. Yeah, there's a lot of people working. Yeah, and there are many prominent figures in Spain in the cybersecurity world or the hacker world, like Kema Alonso, for example, is one that comes to my mind. He's a old school person. So yeah, basically, that is the gist and the, I don't know what to call it, like the landscape of how cybersecurity is in Spain. You got lost, pal. Sit. You want to sit? No? Okay. Well, obviously that is Spain, yeah. But I'm Portuguese, even though I'm wearing the Spanish shirt. And I got my Spanish flag hanging there. I don't know how I got there. But how is it different in Portugal? The answer is that it's not that much different, actually. Well, definitely, the scale is different, obviously, because it's a much smaller country, it's a much smaller state, yeah, smaller population, yeah, a smaller economy even. Although maybe there's more people now because of, okay, I'll just leave that out. But, the philosophy is remarkably similar, yeah. So Portugal's main coordinating organizations are similar or have a similar structure to Spain. So you have the CNCS, yeah, which is the National Cybersecurity Center or something like that. I even forget the name. Usually it's called the Faculdade de Ciências do Porto Circle Jerk. So they are there to improve resilience, to work with government, yeah, and businesses, and to protect critical infrastructures, yeah, and definitely work alongside with international partners. You also have within the CNCS the CERT PT, so this is the incident response team, and they coordinate, and help organizations deal with cyber incidents, yeah. So basically they share information, they support recovery. So again, It's a different part of within CNCS, but it's a different responsibility. It's the same objective as we saw in the Spain, yeah, organization, yeah. But obviously, it's all mostly the same, yeah. And also, we have the police as well, the police judiciary. They have the cybercrime unit. Let's leave that for some other time. And yeah, basically, you have also private companies helping out. You have researchers as well. So pretty much all around the same, yeah. It's the same idea. It's the same idea. It's just, different people, different country, yeah, one team. So, you are now asking me this question: who's better, Spain or Portugal? Honestly, I don't think that is the right question. Okay, I think that's like asking whether your goalkeeper, since we're gonna use an analogy from from yesterday from the football, is better than your defenders. Yeah, it's a completely different position. Cybersecurity isn't a competition; it's a collaboration. It's a cooperation. Although in the teams I had a team of opponents, but Spain and Portugal are both part of a coalition called NATO. So when we're talking about these organizations, they are working with all of with each other and even other countries as well. So they work closely with ENISA, yeah. And the threat intelligence, for example, gets shared, and indicators of compromise get shared as well. So everyone is working alongside each other, yeah. We even saw this from the Europol as well, yeah. So attackers are certainly respecting borders, so this is why this is required in Europe. Talking about attacks targeted to Europe. This is why this coalition is needed, yeah. Because even though we have all these different countries and cultures, or whatever you want to call it, yeah, and different languages too, yeah. You gotta learn one language for every country you visit. It's kind of crazy, You have other countries, and we are all cooperating, even France and Germany, yeah. So basically, this is a coalition, as I said. So that is why I actually find it funny when people try, to turn cybersecurity into a, I don't know, another like Portugal versus Spain match, yeah, or a Portugal versus Spain debate. Where is better to live? Yesterday, sure, about the match. You support your team, you celebrate, you complain about the referee. You say that Ronaldo is worse than Messi, or Ronaldo is better than Messi, whatever you want. But today, both countries are defending the same thing. They are defending the peninsula, yeah. They're defending the digital economy. They have the same objective, the same critical infrastructure even, the same shared European values and networks. And if Spain learns something from the Indra story attack, is that Portugal benefits from the work that is done. Portugal discovers, for example, a new phishing campaign, yeah, and Spain benefits from it as well. So we are all working with each other, and this is how cybersecurity is supposed to be, is to work with each other. It's a collaboration. So the castles may belong to different kingdoms, but when the enemy is outside the walls, you usually achieve more by sharing information, between the defenders, and collaborating and pretending you're fighting alone, and you are the ruler of all land, yeah. So this is basically what I wanted to talk about today. It was actually a very slow week for news. I was actually maybe very slow with all this beer. No, I didn't drink the beer. This is just a joke. I was actually working last night and having a peek on the game too. And so, yeah, people are now rising up. It's early in the morning. Wake up and smell the coffee. I think that's how they say it. And you gotta walk the 40-kilometer, walk to the, I don't know where this goes to. I still gotta do this one day. But yeah, basically this is what I wanted to touch on this week. Cybersecurity, you may think, from all the discourse and from all the, talk that happens online is mostly like US and Israel, talking about like companies and about news and about all these research. But we have, very capable people. I mentioned one from Spain, like Emma Alonso. Then you have even people in Portugal as well. Obviously working abroad and overseas, because in Portugal you don't really have a fucking job. But anyway, I'm digressing. So yeah, basically, cybersecurity actually happens, in a lot of countries around the world, and it's a worldwide effort, yeah, collaborative effort. So yeah, this is what I wanted to talk today about. It's very early in the morning here. I'm gonna have to clean this up, yeah, or else I'm gonna get fined, because that does happen here in Europe. That is a good thing. You get fined for littering or loiter. How do you say? Littering, yeah. No, loitering is something. And I gotta go back to the cabin to see if I already have electricity. And yeah, basically that's all I wanted to speak today. It's this news. There were other things as well, like the Cloudflare thing and something about the IPFS. But not really, cybersecurity related. There's some cybersecurity aspect and point of view perspective on it. But I think this, given the Spain-Portugal, thing, and being in Spain, I think this was the appropriate news to talk about and to give a little bit of explanation how cybersecurity works on a nationwide scale, of course, for both Spain and Portugal. So that is all. I'll be signing off now. And I'll get cleaning this place up and get back to the cabin to see if I got the juice running, and keep working on my stuff. So